And Jeanette, any public comment?
Actually, yes. So this afternoon, Scott Hunter wrote to B. Pat Madden regarding the William H. Warner housing, which all of you know as Lucy Street, and he sent some materials that he wanted us to, as a commission, to weigh in on. Kathy now has that email. She's going to read it to you, but my feeling was he sent 6 pages of information, and that it just didn't work to have you sit here and read it. The best use of your time would be for us to send it to you tomorrow, have you read it, and then we could discuss it next month. That's what Kathy thought was best. So if you'll read just the email.
I'm looking for just, because the email did not come to me, but
Okay,
it
I
was
have the
forwarded
email.
to me.
I can let you read it off my phone if you
I
like.
think this is it.
Of the,
Okay, well, actually,
so I was
Yes.
just in my stuff, so I can pull it
Okay,
up.
I do have it.
what was it dated?
So the email was dated today, Monday, September 9th at 8:57 a.m.
But didn't come to us at 8:57.
Right.
It was forwarded. Okay.
Yes, today's date. And the email starts, I wondered if you could forward this to Kathy Austin for tonight's Human Services Commission meeting expressing concerns regarding protection of elderly and disabled persons in Woodbridge. Given the pressing issues we're seeing in places like Niantic with your elderly and disabled population, it's crucial that we ensure similar emergencies don't arise here. I believe it's important that the Commission is aware and vigilant in protecting our most vulnerable residents. To aid in this, I'd like to share my public comments and testimony from recent meetings and the issues that have been raised regarding Warner by the Board of Selectmen's unanimous approval of Alpha Capital as the new operator of Warner without any experience or track record managing housing for the elderly or disabled. The following are links with timestamps so the Commission can view the meetings, and those links are attached. There has been serious reports regarding Alpha Capital's problematic business practices, which have impacted communities like East Lyme and Hartford, leading to rent spikes and mass evictions. I believe it is critical that the Commission considers these cases as cautionary tales and takes steps to avoid similar situations in Woodbridge. Let me know if you need more information or would like to discuss this further. Best regards, Scott, who's a Woodbridge resident. So Jeanette has made available the attachments to give all of us some more background on information. So I don't expect that we're going to digest this tonight, but this is reading material for us to get familiar, if you're not familiar with the issue.
So there was a secondary email that came after I responded to him regarding that, you know, it wasn't quite timely, that we had a meeting tonight, that I couldn't expect all of you to digest this and be prepared to discuss it. And that actually, because the Commission has not necessarily been on board with what we've been doing, the department actually has been quite active. So
It's not that we haven't been on board, but we haven't been involved.
you haven't been informed. You know, that, you know, it didn't rise to that, you know, it was just a director and the staff handling it with Mika. It didn't, there was no request for us to make a resolution, for us to, you know, there are a couple of suggestions he's made here that I should probably also send out to all of you. But no doubt the staff has been aware of this. I advocated with Mika after I learned that the Alpha Capital had been quasi-approved and that CHAFA would then have to approve it further. Just to let you know, background information that I shared with Kathy today, I met with Mika several times just to discuss, impressions. I had been to their website just to see what kind of a management company they were and what they did that was different than who's managing now, John Capone. Christy and Judy and I met with Mika to discuss it further. Christy initiated a conversation with the first selectman once a month where we've now had two, we're having a third this week, and residents of Lucy Street, a dozen?
More than a dozen.
Yeah, have come each time to directly converse and advocate for,
So there's been, I should correct that, there's been 14 to 16 attendees, probably about a dozen from Lucy Street.
it's all the same. So, but, providing a voice for those who don't necessarily have a voice is something that we're pretty good at doing here. It didn't seem, because the Board of Selectmen controls who is going to oversee the management of this, it didn't seem like it was something that the Human Services Commission really had any oversight over. But now Scott is specifically asking for us to weigh in on that, and so digest the materials. I will also send, there was a newspaper article, I think in the Register, regarding Alpha Capital and a bunch of residents in, I think that's the Niantic group. It said Old Lyme in the article, but I guess Niantic is part of Old Lyme. Does anybody knows that?
That stands to reason.
Okay. So I think it's the same group that he's referencing, and they organized and they're fighting back for rent hikes. I think in the materials I read, maybe we should just wait till next month. Read the materials. If you have any questions or need more information, I can put you in touch with either Scott directly, or there's other materials that, from the residents, but we'll discuss it next month. Do you think that seems?
Can I just add one thing?
Of course.
At the last coffee with conversation with Mika, he mentioned, because this is a hot topic, he mentioned that, from my understanding, as we left it, it was going to go to RFP, or they were looking to have it go to an RFP.
RFQ,
Okay.
for a management company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm only correcting because I was corrected. So I think that's what it goes
So
to.
this is still in a process?
Yes.
Okay.
That they were looking for some other management company that would be acceptable to both Chaffa and John Capone, who now manages the Lucy Street Warner Village apartments, would be acceptable, but also had experience dealing with senior housing. Because, we want to make sure that the residents who are sometimes unable to advocate for themselves, but other times very vocal, have some say in what happens, some of their destiny, So I think that's it for correspondence, but usually I say nothing, and so this is something.
Any other public comment, Jeanette? Any additions to the agenda?
No. I was going to turn that into an addition to the agenda, but since we had it emailed to us, it worked for public comment.
Very good. Okay, we now need to take a look at the minutes of the August 5th meeting and make sure that they still stand. Any discussion or corrections? No, then I'll look for a motion to accept the minutes of the August 5th meeting.
I can make a motion.
Lauren?
Yeah, Erin, you.
Aaron, thank you. All in favor? Okay, and I think.
Two abstentions.
Two abstentions.
Yeah.
Scott?
Thank you. And we'll go on to the Woodbridge Center report.
So at the last meeting, Arnie had asked what we felt attributed to the increased attendance. And there was, a few things that were mentioned, but one thing that wasn't mentioned that I wanted to mention is our sponsors. Our sponsors are a huge reason why we're able to offer more, and you know, it contributes to the increased attendance because we're able to offer.
So they're
more.
sponsoring, in some cases, 100% of what you're doing, in some cases, less than that?
Correct. So, right, sometimes they sponsor the lunch part or the lunch and learn, or they do a certain portion of an event we're having, a monetary donation in different ways. Yeah, it's very big. It's a lot of support they give. So I want to make sure I mention that. Last month, they also mentioned that we had the lunch and learn on the Backyard Boards of Connecticut on August 1st, and we had 55 attendees to that. On August 8th, we had a lunch and craft of silk scarf painting. We had 26 attendees for that, which was the max that we could have. Milford Health and Rehab provided the silk scarf craft, and then Oasis Senior Advisors provided the lunch. And we had a big waiting list for that, so we're going to offer it again with the same sponsors at the beginning of October. On August 12th, we did a trip to tour the Thimble Islands, and with the lunch afterwards at Stony Creek Brewery. We had the max that we can take. We used both vans. We had 20 people go. They all loved being out on the water and had a fantastic time. They loved the food at Stony Creek. Unfortunately, when I called to make sure that they did individual checks, they failed to mention that they do individual checks because you have to look at the menu and order on your phone and pay on your phone. So that wasn't the best fit for the group that we brought. But it all worked out. The bartenders came out and actually waited tables, so it all worked out. It just wasn't ideal. So we had a waiting list for that. So last Friday, we wound up going back to the Thimble Islands, but this time we went to Dockside, which is much easier. Right. And Peck. On October 22nd, we had our summer beach party luncheon that was sponsored by Amston Home Transition Solutions. We had 61 people come to that, and we had a great barbecue that was catered by Billy's Ice Cream and Marketplace. We had barbecue pulled chicken and coleslaw and cornbread. It was really good. On August 26th, we had a pressed flower lantern art workshop that was offered by Hamden Rehab. And that was a lot of fun. Everybody brought fresh flowers from their gardens and stuff, and it was nice, a little messy, but nice. And on August 29th, we had an ice cream excursion to Wells Hollow Creamery with 10 people that went to that. And on September 17th, we'll be doing kind of a bonus trip to Rich's Farm, and they'll have all their seasonal flavors out, like the pumpkin ice cream, so I think that's full actually now too. And again, the highlighted ones are the programs that are full, and the underlying ones are the ones that don't have a max. So. On September 5th, we had a lunch and learn on brain fitness. That the presentation was provided by LiveWell, and the lunch portion was provided by The Key. LiveWell is a private nonprofit that really promotes healthy brains and cognitive function. So they did a great presentation. They talked about the different parts of the brain and what memories affected in those different parts, and then the games that you can do to stimulate those different memory areas. So there was a lot of interaction, and there was a lot of positive feedback for that.
It was really fun. I stayed for, a quarter of it, but everybody was really enjoying it. And
They were engaged.
yeah, really engaged, and the games were really fun but challenging.
Yeah, it was fun. And then this Thursday, we're having our annual Coachman Townwide Picnic. That'll be out in the Grove. They come, they barbecue. Here, there's chicken, hot dogs, hamburgers, side salads, and a big spread. And they invite everybody from town to go, of all ages, and then the first responders and town employees. So we have 115 people that are signed up for that.
Wow.
Amazing.
any help?
We don't, they do everything.
Great.
It's like a really easy.
That's great.
They come, they bring staff, they serve.
Excellent.
It's really great. They've done it for years, so.
How many years have you are you expecting?
115 people coming.
115. That's
Great. And on September 19th, we're gonna have a squeegee art painting workshop provided by Hampton Rehab. Canasta started today. It was supposed to be for experienced players, but there was a lot of excitement for people who wanted to learn. So one of the experienced players offered to help a small table of 4. And then we wound up having 17 canasta players today, which is great. There's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of people wanting to learn. So unfortunately, they were one short for the experienced players, but kind of at the beginning, it's a building thing. So and soon the beginners will be seasoned, so then they can play together. We're having a 6-week beginner Mahjong class that'll start on Wednesday. And then our Painting for Pleasure class will resume on Monday. On September 26th, we're going to have the Lunch and Learn on Financial Fraud that was previously scheduled in May that we're collaborating with the library on. Connecticut Department of Banking will be providing the presentation and Coachman Square will be providing the lunch. And we've maxed out with 50 people that have registered for that, and there's a waiting list. And then on September 30th, we're going to do a trip to Beardsley Cider Mill in Orchard, followed by lunch at the Spotted Horse Tavern in Shelton. And we're full with a waiting list on that, with 19 people signed up. And then just a little update for the frozen meals. In July, it dipped down. If you look at the stats, not July, I'm sorry. July was 190. In August, it's 161. But if you look back to in the narrative portion of Q1 of last year, it was 523. So it seems like it dips down a little bit in the summer months. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes with the increased price that went into effect on July 1st. Bingo has increased in popularity. We had 20 people attend last week with 60 books sold, and we started offering a second game immediately following that. The one game takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and people wanted to stay longer and play, so we're just repeating it. And then for personnel, the application window for the new center assistant closed on August 23rd. We received over 30 applicants or applications, and Jeanette and I started the interviewing process, and we interviewed 3 people, really good candidates, all of them, over the last week, and we'll be bringing 2 back in the next week.
Yeah. And just we might not want to wait once we do the references and the background check. We might not want to wait till the next meeting to hire her. So I might put you on notice that once we figure who it is, if we could have a 5-minute Zoom to a special meeting. Again, it's just, it's kind of a very long process to go through, getting the resumes posted and getting them in, making the appointments. We were 3 for 3 on people showing up for their interviews, which is huge. We're always ghosted on these people, but these are great candidates, and we'll do the second interview hopefully this Thursday afternoon, and probably have a recommendation by a week later once we do some background checks. So if you're amenable, we can try to find a night that works for 5 of you. We really only need. I mean, obviously, we'd love to have everybody so that we could have a lively discussion and inform you, but if we just have to move on, what I usually do is put out 2 nights. Wherever we get the most, that'll be the night. It's not to say we don't want your opinion or your opinion, it's just where we get the most. So we've done that before.
We were really fortunate. All of them had really good skills that matched what we were looking for, and they all just seem really
And they all just really want a few hours. It's not like they're looking, or they're juggling 3 jobs, you know, when you're self-employed, that's an easy fit to have other hours in, and just other, they just seem to fit, so we're really lucky. Hope, knock on wood. And do you want to talk about fees?
Yes. So we've had really good attendance lately at the center. For the total attendance in August, we had 969. Last month we had 891, and then in June we had 741. So we're in a good trend here, going up.
That's great.
We have a lot of waiting lists. We have a lot of the programs have waiting lists. So we try to, we're trying to do what we can to minimize the waiting list and have everyone be included. So some of them we try to offer again, or we're trying to get creative. One of the ways that we thought would work out well is if we started to implement a $25 membership fee beginning January 1st of 2025 for non-residents only. And then what that would do is it would enable us to be able to expand on like what the sponsors offer. If they provide a certain amount of lunch for a certain amount of people, we can contribute to that and make it for a larger amount of people, or we can support the sponsors.
So the membership fee would actually go to defraying the cost of the luncheon, and I'm just sort of clarifying that because I understood it, but I'm not sure everybody got that. That's what the fee would be used for. So if say Coachman Square said they would sponsor a lunch for $50, but we have these fees come in, we're able to go to $65. That helps get that wait list off, and we can offer it to more. Because we have room, it's just the financing we don't have. Sorry, Christy.
No, that's fine. It's good to be more clear. So in other ways too, that that we can use to support the center more. So does anyone have any questions about it, or conversation they want to have about it?
I have one question, and I don't know if this is something that other senior centers do or not, but the waiting list, it's first come, first served, I'm assuming, and it's not a waiting list for non-residents to get in after the residents are, you fill the residents, right? It's
Correct.
first come, first served.
Correct.
Okay. So doing it this way, you're hoping for some programs you'd be able to encompass more people.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm glad that you mentioned about other centers, because some of the, comparing to other centers, that a lot of them, probably the majority, do have a membership fee. Most of them seem to have a membership fee for residents and non-residents, and then the non-residents is higher. Some of the ones around here, Beacon Falls is $7 for residents, $10 for non-residents. Cheshire doesn't really list it. Fairfield is a little bit close, but they're free for Fairfield residents, and then out of town members it's $25. Milford is $25 for residents, $45 for non-residents, and there's they limit how many non-residents they'll accept into their centers. So that's a few of
Is the
events for
waiting,
residents.
sorry,
Oh,
are the waiting lists generally like 15 people or less?
It depends on what it is. Like something like the financial fraud lunch and learn where there's 50 spots, the waiting list tends to be less. For the scarf lunch and learn, or lunch and craft, that there's probably around 10 to 15 that
It
were on the
would
wait list.
help, like you think it would,
Yes, it would
Yeah.
definitely.
I have orange here for 15 for residents and 20 for non-residents.
But it must have just gone up 10 to 15.
Well, I personally like the idea of holding out a fee as long as we can for residents. If we don't have to charge a fee for residents, I think, maybe at some point in the future we do, but I do think it's still a bargain for non-residents to be able to come to, this wide menu of programs for, what it breaks down to, cents for each time they come if they come regularly.
Right, and there's still fees for things that we have to pay an instructor for. So,
Right.
art class
Right.
or an exercise class, there's still some fees. This is in addition, but we also are paying an instructor, so we want to make sure we recoup some of that. Some of it's covered in our budget and some of it isn't.
The $25 breaks down to just a little over $2 a month, so.
Yes.
Just to be clear,
Mhm.
there's no fee for residents.
Correct.
Except for you, Beth.
That's right.
Except for pickleball, we'll get to
And the
that.
fee will be annual or monthly?
And
The amount of
January.
fee? January, so
We have
that's,
experience with this since 2016. We've been charging for pickleball, and they pay in January. And
Nice.
even if they sign up in July, it's
It
the
goes
same
with-
price. It's
not
you know,
prorated.
It's not
Okay.
prorated. If they sign up in November, we say, just go play with a friend for a little while and then come back and pay us, because,
Yeah.
we're not
yeah.
awful.
So you're paying, they would be paying per calendar year, not per
Fiscal
membership
For membership,
year.
right.
Right.
Like
That'd be too hard to
June,
follow.
June, right.
Yes.
We'd be
Yeah, that's
sending
what I
out
was-
Yeah,
notices.
yeah. Like, well, that would be
If
administrative.
we were charging a lot more.
Actually,
we wouldn't have
actually,
that very
our
much.
software program might be able to cover that, but again, it would be a constant
Yeah.
oversight
Right,
of it,
right.
and that
You're
just,
Continuously chasing down people.
right,
Yes.
Yeah,
right,
and for what we're talking about, that just,
right. And
Doesn't
it
make
just
make
means,
sense.
it just means that
Off
in
the
January and February, we'd be doing more deposits,
Right.
but the rest of the year, it would just run itself and it'd be
Right.
fine.
Are people going to, if they pay the fee, and then they keep signing up for things, but they're too late?
Mm. I see the frustration there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I asked if the waiting list is not so long, then great, but if there's a long waiting list, then there's it's frustrating, right? So that's all.
Right
But
now, it should cover
All right,
most
so
of the waiting
great.
list, but if it does, I mean, it's how it is in other centers too, so
Yeah.
I think that the ones that are interested tend to pay attention to when the new things come out
Yeah.
to sign up.
Right, it
So we're
will
gonna
train
absorb
people to
people?
take
I'm sorry.
notice.
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead, go.
we're training people to take a look at what's offered and jump on it. I'm sorry, Pat.
But there are the e-blasts and there's the month ahead that Christie puts out, and so really at this point, most of our seniors are so with it. They have email and they have the ability to get here, so I think it would work.
And the hope is that you will generate enough of this so that if only 50 people could come this month, next year with this thing, you might be able to accommodate more people.
Correct.
So it
The
would,
50 one-
it would attack the waiting list.
Right. The
Issue.
50 is usually, we usually don't have that big of a
No, no, but I'm
sponsorship,
just-
yes,
just
yes,
as an
I know what you're
example.
saying, yes.
Okay, all right, so that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah.
We're trying to,
You're trying
include
to
more
increase
people.
capacity, so
Yeah.
that's terrific.
Because we have a
Christie's
big
got-
space.
Yeah.
Christie has a lot of creativity when it comes to sponsorships. We've kind of always done it where, okay, the police union and the Willows and, somebody else are all getting together and their sponsorship pays for Thanksgiving. But Christie knows how to, she put the Key and Live Well together to provide the event last week, and so it works. It takes a lot of administrative time though, right? And so if this would help her with, being able to expand things without 14 emails back and forth to the community representative of X, Y, and Z businesses, this helps.
And do we want to make a motion just for this membership? I know that you have a comment here for pickleball, would continue to pay, would stay the same?
Yeah, that's just how it is, so it would just be for the membership fee.
Okay.
So that's,
That was just an example of
Right.
how, the calendar year.
Okay.
And I have a question about non-resident pickleball membership being $25 a year, how long has it stayed at, or been at $25?
Since it started.
So it's never,
Well, yeah, so it was, I raised it once, but it's been 8 years. So it was just a $5 increase. I think it was like 20,
It was before I got, so
Yeah.
for 5 years, it's been the same at
Right.
least.
I think we raised it just once because, supplies and court management, all of that.
right, and that's why I bring it up, because we already are asking the residents to pay 20 and the non-residents are only $5 more. I'm wondering whether it would be reasonable to increase even $5 for the non-resident fee, given some of the courts need some repairs, nets break, if things happen, and there would be some funding for when money has to be put toward painting lines or whatever it is for equipment. So I'm just, wondering if there's any feedback on a $5 increase for non-resident.
For pickleball, in addition to the $25?
Well, so I'm saying $30 for non-resident pickleball players to increase
Right,
from
but what I
5.
think what Christie's asking is, we're now going to levy a non-resident
Right,
Right.
membership
Yes.
fee on the same people.
Yes.
So now they're going to be asked for $30 or $25 more a year. And then if we went to $30 on their pickleball fee, it might be a lot. Maybe
$30
we,
increase, yeah.
maybe we
Yeah.
hold that thought that next year maybe the pickleball fees go up, but that this year we're just adding the non-resident, you have to say it at some point, we don't have enough facilities for the residents plus all the non-residents we could potentially have.
Right.
So
Um,
pickleball, we have 111 players right now. 87 are Woodbridge residents and 24 are non-residents. So the majority is, I was surprised actually, I thought
Right.
there was more non-residents.
Right.
What towns are they coming from? I'm just curious.
All over.
All over?
All different ones, from Milford to Seymour to.
Not
Beacon
just,
Falls.
not
Beacon
just the
Falls.
adjoining,
Yeah,
okay.
Beacon
These
Falls.
are, these are
Okay.
friends of the people who are with
Yeah.
the residents primarily?
Not necessarily.
No?
From the very
They're just looking
beginning,
for a
we had
place
a
to play?
group from,
Looking
yeah.
for a,
Well, that's
Well, we
interesting.
offered a training,
nice-
like 3 months of training in 2016.
Yes.
And it attracted a lot of people because they were coming from all over because they were really excited about the game. And those people, believe it or not, have stayed. They're the core of the group. They've been here a long time. But it's really gratifying to hear that 87 out of 111
yes, that makes a
are
difference
are
in my
residents.
life.
So,
So I just threw it out there, maybe for another year, we can look at that.
Well,
but
after
I-
the gym renovation, maybe next year, maybe it's something to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a little
Right,
piling on,
Yes,
doing it right.
no, I agree now. So I think we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to
Uh,
approve the increase to $25 for non-residents effective January 1st.
I
Second.
don't think we should call it an increase since there's never been a,
Oh, okay, it's
Fee.
a brand new, to
Yeah, it's
approve
a
the
brand
new, to implement the $25 calendar year membership for non-residents.
Second.
Viviana and Pat, thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
you're used to being on the phone.
Yeah, I know. I'm usually looking for the mute button right now.
And then just one more thing. Regarding the devastating flooding that happened along the river in Seymour, Oxford, Southbury, I contacted the senior centers in Oxford and Seymour to see if there's any way that we can support them, do any fundraising or anything of that nature. We had an extra pan of shredded chicken from the beach party, which I donated to the Oxford Town Hall, that they were very appreciative of, so that they could distribute it. And then the Seymour Center suggested reaching out to Team, Nathan Darby, who was kind of overseeing a large part of it with the Red Cross, to see where the help is needed most and how to go about it. So Judy and Jeanette and I have been talking, and Jeanette reached out to Team, to someone there, and
The director.
we're waiting to hear back from him.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually, in their annual meeting invitation, sent a card that said they were overseeing some fundraising, and they would be directly implementing aid. So it seems like they're the right agency since they service those communities already. And I did reach out to David, who's the executive director, and I have not heard back. But that was just on Friday, and I'm sure he's very busy.
But we have a relationship with them, so it's good to continue it. And, they'll be here after the Red Cross finishes and goes on their way.
We
so.
did sort of say, okay, we're doing the Living Treasure now. Two fundraising things is kind of difficult to manage, that we would start our efforts for an month of October fundraiser, many fundraisers, opportunities to donate, and then donate at the beginning of the next month, seeing where we are. Can I just go back for a second? I did not get who made the motion. Oh, you
I made the motion
Viviana and Pat.
And Pat seconded.
And it was motion to implement a $25 per year membership fee for non-residents. Okay.
Effective January 1st, 2025.
Per calendar year.
Yeah, calendar year.
And then I just want to point out on my stats that a couple corrections. So under transportation, I realized that I was not, at the beginning of the year in January, we, through Schedules Plus, where we get our reporting from, and we're able to run our reports, Katie had pieced out the services for dropping off the frozen meals and Massaro, the vegetables, to a service, a different heading under services. So that was, and when I ran the RIDE report, it wasn't being captured. So the June, July, and August numbers have been amended so that they're higher. Which explains it, because I knew we were doing more transportation. So during why the numbers weren't reflected. So I'm going to, I didn't have a chance to get to it, but I'll change the FY24 and quarter 3 and 4 so that you can see the new numbers, hopefully by next month. And then the last page for expenses, I was just trying to think of a way so that it's more helpful to you when you're looking at it. So I'm just going to categorize it from now on so you can just see the categories and how much we're expending on each category, rather than, like Amazon isn't really very helpful to you probably. So.
Christy, can I ask you a question about the coffee bar expenses?
Sure.
Why the big increase? Is that when we supply everything in August?
Well, no. WB Mason was having a really big sale, so I stocked up.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, do you really need 1,500 stirrers? No, but the price was too
Okay.
good.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Christy, very comprehensive. Love to see those numbers. And I need a motion to accept the Woodbridge Center report. Alex? There's Aaron, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you very much. And we're on to youth services. Nancy.
Well, we started the school year with the 7th grade picnic, which was really well attended. From what I understand, this is a really much bigger 7th grade class. We had 130 kids and 22 parent volunteers. Well, we had one high school student who was tremendously helpful and stuck around at the end to help clean up. So it was really great. We had a Bethany Trooper there. It was a beautiful evening to be outside. It was just so great. And DJ was great. He brings his daughter who works with him, and she set up a scavenger hunt for the kids, which they just love. They eat it up. It's so cute. But the best part was, of course, what they didn't know is the DJ and the principal are really close friends. So he said, oh, so I want you to, after we had introduced, the principal and the assistant principal and the first selectman, then she started sending the kids out, go get a paper plate. And I thought, oh, there go all the paper plates, and then this and that. She had them collecting things, and then she said, go get the principal's lanyard, so they all go charging the principal. And then they came back with the lanyard. And then Then she said, now, go and bring the principal back for the last one, you know, and so all these kids just ran and grabbed the principal, and they were like holding on to him, bringing him back. It was just adorable, and of course, he just ate it up, and I said to the
He's a
DJ,
ham.
I said to the DJ, you're gonna pay for this. But it was really cute, really fun. We had a nice inflatable. It was a new, called Caution Loop obstacle course. The kids were on, you know, was out on the field, and we had cornhole set up and some games. We put some chalk out, so the kids were, you know, drawing with chalk, so just whatever. There was, just seemed to be something for everybody. It was really fun. We had pizza, which we had one order in based on the numbers who had, you know, registered. And then so many people registered in the last day or two, I just called in another order because, and they still went through all of it. Someone did say there was a gluten-free, you know, student, a parent, so we ordered a gluten-free pizza and she never came for it, so we did leave it for the custodians up there because they take great care of us, so it was nice that we could leave them something. So that was really fun, and we have, I looked at the breakdowns of, you know, how many kids from Woodbridge, how many kids from Bethany, because we do keep statistics because Bethany gives us some money each year, so we try to keep stats on how many Bethany kids, what percentage of kids there are. And then we had 3 kids from New Haven. I didn't see any other towns covered so far, but there were 3 kids from New Haven. So, but it was just a really nice night. The kids just seemed to have a really good time. They get along well together. So far, it's early. And I was glad to get the volunteers. So, you know, and so Back to School Blowout is our next program. So that's next week, the 20th. And we have the inflatable that is the, it looks like the Hungry Hippos game. Remember the Hungry Hippos game? It's just the inflatable hippo chow down. And so the kids are budgied and they're trying to grab the balls in the center and pull back. It's a lot of, it's fun to be in it and it's fun to watch, although I just love to get the staff in there to do it. Someday I'd like to send the kids home and have just the parents stick around. Have fun. But we'll have it indoors because the sun is going down earlier and there are no lights outside at the middle school on the field, so it's always a tight crunch to try to get everything cleaned up and get inside. And a couple of years ago, I had to go back the next day and pick up things that were accidentally left outside because it just got too dark. So we'll have the same DJ who gives us fantastic pricing. I have to say, he's really good to us. So we'll have the same DJ and we'll have that inflatable, probably pizza again, and we'll be searching for volunteers. So,
How many kids
on a
usually-
Friday night.
How many kids show up?
So we had 130 at the 7th grade picnic. Usually at the 7th grade picnic, I remember somewhere between 90 and like 111, something
Yeah.
like that, but that was a large
It's a
group.
good group.
That was,
Yeah.
that was
And-
a really good
and
group, and the kids were good.
With the next event, you get 7th and 8th graders coming,
This
so.
one I'm expecting more, although you get a few months together and then you'll see 8th graders start to fall off just because
They don't wanna hang with
they
the
don't
7th
think it's cool to be with the
Yeah.
7th graders, you know. Years ago, it was the 9th grade, because we used to have 9th grade, then they fell off. Now it's the 8th graders, just, so we try to pack it in early in the year.
It's good to know nothing's changed.
Especially if it's a sibling, oh my goodness, you know. But that should be fun. Job bank, our numbers went down, you know, and I mean, we had rain, the grass was growing, but I think lots of people went on vacation. And of course, now I'm losing some of my prime workers to college, so many of those are gone. So I'm in search of, and so I do have somebody coming in next week for an interview. And we did interview some new kids, you know, more kids over the summer, honestly, than normal. So I hope the request will pick up when the leaves fall a little bit more. Red Cross babysitting class went on, so we had 14 students. It used to be we limited at 10, but there was typically a wait list. Then we went to 11, 12, 13, and then one parent said, can I put my other child in? So she took 14 this time. It's 2 mornings usually because there's hands-on, but the first day is more just the learning process. And it's mostly 7th and 8th graders who sign up, and then you get like a couple 14 or 15-year-olds. But it's hard for them to sit that long, honestly. And it's, you know, it's serious stuff, learning about this. And so the second day, they do more of the fun stuff, the hands-on. They learn diapering, you know, feeding, transferring the baby, and then they learn the Heimlich maneuver, which is usually at the end, and that's when they all giggle because they actually have to wrap their arms around each other. And there's just something about trying to learn the Heimlich maneuver, you know, your hands around a friend who you probably know for years. But anyway, it's always the time they giggle, but it's fun. And good information, and we have some residents, some non-residents, so it was a really nice time. And we do have some kids on the wait list who just were away, couldn't make this one, but their parents want to get them in for the next time. We will have some information tables if I hold up this week. So we have an information table tomorrow night at the back to school night, and I will do a short presentation at the middle school, and I will introduce Lainey. By the way, she started at this 7th grade picnic. She basically had like an hour and a half one day of training, an hour another day, and then the day before she came in and it was like, you know, in her face. So she's not scared away yet, and now she's going through the process of, you know, getting ready for this one, and we're already starting to plan October's programs. So she's not scared away yet, which is really nice. But she is welcome. The help is welcome, more than welcome. It's been a long summer. And then we'll have another information table at the ice cream social on Thursday night at Beecher Road School, because I realized the last one I did, I met a lot of parents and kids, you know, like to hand out to kids too. So we were discussing the kind of candies we could put out, attract attention. Data reporting for the grant. So summer's always fun. They've broken it up a little bit more this year, but we're doing data through an outside company. There's a big push to collect data for the state, so we can justify our existence, Youth Service Bureau. So, and we've always compared what the towns have to pay to keep youth services going versus what we get in the grant monies. So they know youth service bureaus are so different because the towns are so different, their needs are different. And so they're trying to get good data together and to see, you know, where the needs are, and hopefully to ask for more money from the state as well. So I had a proposed budget that was due, and I sent that in to DCF, and then Connecticut Youth Services Association, which we're members of, they actually, we have like 99 members throughout the state, different YSBs, but what they do is they gather information from DCF about the administration of the grant. They share a lot of information, they do trainings for new youth service directors, and it's really, really helpful. And they also are great with sharing information, so they hired a person to help review budgets and make sure that everybody's trained so we can get information in. So they did a training, I did that, we submitted our projected budget for next year, and then there was a big survey they sent us last year, so instead of doing the application, usually it's a 2-year application, they sent us a survey that needed to be done. We did this big long survey last year, and so I had to review it and have that updated for today, which just got in there. And then income and expenses, which is a little bit more involved, that's due on September 30th. So, and then we're going to collect data, so instead of just waiting till the end of the year to submit all the program data, we're doing that, it has to be done quarterly. So we do a program, we can enter it into the Dillinger company data, and then they collect it and they submit it to DCF on our behalf. So it forces us to keep after it, which it's, you know, because it gets away from you. It truly does. You say, oh, I'll get to it, and then you're always at the last minute, but it still forces you to get to it. So we're hoping for, you know, some good information this year. And the grants are all allotted as the same as they were last year. So basic grant is $14,103. It used to be $14,000. Enhancement grant is $8,604. That's used for after-school guided study program at Beecher. Supplemental grant is $2,744. That's for direct services, which we provide enough in-house. And so the total grant money we get from the state is $25,451. The town has to match the basic grant, which is the 14,103. So good to keep that information in mind. And Jeanette and I met with the community service director from Orange, and she's been trying to keep the BODAC committee going, which is the Local Prevention Council. There was always a BODAC person, the chairperson was always an Orange employee. So they've always employed this person, but they started with their own prevention council, ODAC, and then it grew to be Bethany Orange Woodbridge, BODAC. But instead of having a separate part-time person, they combined the job with the youth services coordinator job a few years ago. And it was very, very difficult for her to get everything done. And you want to make sure the money's being spent properly. So we met with their new youth service director, and I think what they want to do is just let each town decide if we want to apply for our local prevention council grants separately. I don't know that we're finished the discussion. I think they want to, I just think they want to be done with it because they weren't getting paid from any of the other towns. They were just doing it. But they were also applying for the grants and administering it too. So I know that Milford Prevention Council has been, well, Bridges, who runs Milford Prevention Council, they did get a grant about we're almost 5 years now.
4.5%.
So it's, they were assigned this grant so that they could help the BODAC committee and another prevention council in West Haven. So I will be in touch with them. We're going to try to meet with Wendy Gibbons there at the Milford Prevention Council and see, about going forward. Is it worth it to apply for, local prevention council grant for just Woodbridge? Let Bethany do theirs, let Orange, and then we try to combine. Maybe if we want to do programming at the high school, then put our heads together. I just think ask one person to do, to handle all of BODAC, especially when she's learning a brand new job for her, it will be a lot. So, we'll continue the discussion and see what we want to do as far as prevention.
Yeah, I think we'll bring back to you guys, because as it stands now, the amount of work that has to go in to organize, applying for the grant and spending the money and reporting on the grant. And the grant has to be about vaping and not other prevention stuff that might be more applicable to our community. It just might not be worth the time that we have to put into it. On the other hand, I will be discussing, I think, some of the opioid settlement dollars, where if we hire a person to coordinate that, then we could make potentially applying for this grant part of their responsibilities and have a person on staff who is dealing with prevention and literally paying for the materials through that grant and then the other dollars. So it kind of makes sense to sort of start with one and then maybe add in the other. But we'll discuss a little bit more in the next month.
I think over the past 3 or 4 years, it's been all about vaping, and it just limits how you spend that money when there's other prevention to worry about.
And if you're creative, any positive youth development, it kind of, moves kids away from vaping or other things. So you can get creative and we can work on those ideas. But if it's due in October, we don't have a lot of time. So, thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Nancy?
Will we accept her report?
Yes. Thank you, Pat. Do we have a second? Thank you, Jen. All in favor? Thank you. Pass unanimously, and we'll go on to Jeanette and Human Services.
Sorry. Okay. Center building gym renovation, as I told you in August, July was a very sleepy month. And so the project manager was replaced. A bold move by the construction company, and we are zooming along.
Oh.
So it really was a problem, and now it's less of a problem. We are in negotiations about remediating the floor. There's no money in the budget left for floor remediation, but if you speak to a pickleball player, they will educate you about dead floorboards, where the pickleball lands and goes blue, and it doesn't bounce, and that can really affect the game. Not that pickleballs bounce much, but they bounce some, and if they hit a dead board. According to the pickleball player that I spoke with, who is very knowledgeable and sort of runs a lot of it, the top of both basketball keys is the location of most of the dead boards, and she located another spot two spots as well. I met with the sports flooring expert. Is there such a thing? He does sports floors, and he's an expert at it, and he said that there are some ways to go in and look. There's something called sleepers underneath the floor, and it may just be that the sleepers are out of whack, or it may be an overall problem that the entire slab is shifted. And it is very old. It's from we can't determine whether it's either from the 60s or early 70s. So at least 50 years old. So, we might not be able to fix it, but we can certainly get an estimate and go in and try and look at several spots, which I think would at least satisfy the pickleball players. I'm trying to do this without holding up the project, because at this point, we have an end date that's pretty fixed, because there's an election in that room and we can't delay the process. Moving forward, I'll find out this week. I have a meeting with Tony Genovese Wednesday about it, and Thursday the whole committee will meet and we'll try and move this forward. The Center Building Renovation Committee, I really don't have anything to report other than I believe Dwight will be presenting to the Board of Selectmen this Wednesday night the idea that a separate police department from a center building would move their needs ahead and get that done. A siting committee would be needed, money to the architects, all of that would be needed. So we really have to see an investment by the Board of Selectmen for that, and then using the capital budget each year to address the needs of the envelope here. The general well-being of this building has to also be addressed, but could be addressed in a yearly fashion, that each year they add, addressing water issues and mold issues and sustainability, fixing the windows, the roof, all of that. That has to be done to a 100-year-old building. So I'm happy that the police will get what they need if the Board of Selectmen invests in that, and I would think that the idea of not tying our needs to a $41 million project would probably get, just as we chipped away at this space by doing the ramp and bathroom and then, painting and doing it slowly, I think that if we could chip away at this building's needs, it might get done. So very positive about that. Just wait and see. Vaccine clinic, I'm just going through my report, but I know I'm out of order for the agenda, sorry. Vaccine clinics, we have 4 scheduled. I am working on a 5th to have at Woodbridge Like Me Day. First I got an answer of definitely we can do it, and then it turned out it was the same day as a run for cancer that the entire staff of the pharmacy was running. So he was going to try and find a couple of people who could do the clinic, because I think it's a great idea. I know it was well received. That said, I can't do it without vaccinators. So he, I thought I'd hear from him today. He's usually pretty quick about it. He must be struggling. I'll probably hear from him tomorrow. That's the update on Woodbridge Like Me Day.
interrupt for just a moment? I'm sorry, I should have shared this earlier. I'm not sure how this would affect the process, but I do need to leave by 8:15 for childcare reasons, so I just don't know if that would affect the process at all, or the.
We're okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, we're good.
Okay, I'll stay through 8:15, but I do have to.
Yeah, no,
Ciao.
understood. Been there, done that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but.
That's okay. I'll be quicker.
Oh, no.
And we'll have at least the table for youth services, social services, and senior services at Woodbridge Lightning Day, and help however we can. Stop and Shop Blooming for Good, it's Amity Store this month, so if you're buying flowers for somebody, the 1099 bunch gives $1 to the Resident Assistance Fund. So far, I think we've gotten close to $400 for doing absolutely nothing but saying, hey, sure, thanks.
Yeah.
So that's great. Living Treasure, we need to sell tickets. They are sort of stopped at 70, or, and we go to 120. So we need to sell tickets. If you could put it on, I put it on the town's Facebook page today. If you could share that to your pages and say, great event, great cause, for locals, that would be awesome.
What is the date? Things
Yeah, so we said selling tickets by the 18th.
Next Tuesday.
We pretty much have to tell the caterer, I could probably stretch it a little bit. We usually pad it at the end, so say I had 110 orders, I might go to 120. That said, we also have 20 volunteers that we're buying dinners for too. So folks who are coming and working volunteering get dinner too. So, but we really need 120 seats to be filled to make the 10,000 that we usually make for this event. The book finished out at 52 pages, which is huge. Cost a little more to make, but brought in over $5,000, so that's a good start. Moving on to the food pantry, the Boy Scouts set the date for October 26th, so it'll be the townwide collection of food, put out food to your mailboxes. I will be there that day to help them organize the food. Ellen does a tremendous job of getting the tables in the hallway and labeling everything for them to put the food in order down the hallways. Let's see, what else do I really want to report on? Wayfinding signs, I don't know in the dark if you could see, but if you drove down the center, the driveway here, on the wall next to the entrance, you would walk into Human Services. It now says Human Services. So just like here it says the Woodbridge Center, and on the library it says the Woodbridge Library, and on the PD it now says Woodbridge Police. It says Human Services in big white serif font. It was really exciting because we got a grant last year for $10,000 from the NCOA for giving vaccines, and I asked if we could use it for wayfinding, and they said yes. So that sign and end of driveway, as soon as building maintenance parks gets it together, we're gonna have those installed. They're here, they're big, kind of highway big, bigger than they were supposed to be, but they'll be buried deep enough so they won't be 11 feet high, which might break some kind of code violation, I don't know. They'll be buried 3 feet, and the old ones were 8 feet before they started falling over. So the ones at the end of the driveway that are sort of leaning into their respective bushes,
Yes.
they're gonna be brand new and lovely,
And
so
tall.
that's, and tall. Hopefully they'll dig enough. The opioid settlement funding, we are partnering with Orange for now. We are looking to create a program where we thought we could partner with DH Care, and it turns out that Cara can't partner with us because APW doesn't want to have her working with us that way. But they'd be happy to, if we created a board to run it, a subcommittee of some sort, they'd be happy to send a representative to our meetings to help guide us. I'm still waiting on QVHD. They were to be hiring a prevention specialist in the month of September. And I'm waiting because Kara left QVHD and moved to AW, and she was fantastic. There's no better teacher, and she's just great. If we can replace her with somebody, like, let's clone her. But I know you love her too. I am going to go back to the fellowship program and see if we can get a person this year to start. I think that's the best way to go, because then we would be investing the dollars. We can give that person a stipend, but we'd be investing the dollars in prevention materials and you know, test strips and Narcan, and I think it's the way to go. So we're looking. Have to do it sort of strategically, but we will keep moving. And then the last thing is just the ARPA vehicle. Unfortunately, the state's price for, the state has a list where you can requisition vehicles. Their price was more than the two dealerships we had talked to. So I reached out to the dealership to get a new price, and I have not heard back. And that worries me, so I have to call, because the prices we got were from February, when we first started on this, before we got the grant. We now have an executed agreement, we have the money, we can now purchase a vehicle. In order to go before the Board of Selectmen, we either have to take a vehicle off the state's list, and then we need one bid, or we need 3 bids. And so we had Milford and Branford Subaru dealerships, because we were looking at a vehicle from Subaru, and that would count with the state number being one of the 3 bids, because it's $31,000, so you need 3 bids. And unfortunately, I didn't hear back in time to get it to this month's Board of Selectmen, so we're just going to have to get to next month's meeting with all the facts that we need to get this approved, and then purchase the vehicle in October, which I know Christy doesn't want to hear. We've had trouble with one of our vehicles, so it is unreliable at this
You
point.
could use it today.
Look at that. 8:12. I
I
move fast. No, I want to get home too.
We'll excuse Erin, go,
Thank you.
we'll see you next month.
Other questions?
Any other questions for Jeanette? And I need a motion to accept the Human Services report. Viviana?
Second?
Pat, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Any old business? New business? Then I need a motion to adjourn, and I'll make it, and I need a second. Thank you, Jen. And it's moved by,
Who's Jen?
Jen
Oh,
did it.
Jen.
moved by acclamation at 8:15. Thank you, and
Boy, we got a lot in
and
there.
Pat,
Yeah.
there's some handouts
There's a lot.
that
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about earlier that
Oh,
if
yeah.
you stay, I'll explain.
Okay.
So make sure you take them. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you in November.